Hello, good evening. This is Joe Bormenza. I'm going to be doing the 520 Content 1 module response. First of all, I need to introduce you to my puppy Chewy. This is Chewy right here. And I got another one over here. This right here, my little mini wiener dog. Biggie Smalls, part of the family. He's part of the family. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start off today with section 1, heart and head for the PLCs. And first of all, I'm going to cover what an effective PLC is. An effective PLC should start with a common goal that is data-based. Also, it should remain goal-oriented and professional. Okay, so that's what a good PLC is. Let's talk about what a bad PLC is. A bad or ineffective PLC focuses on goals without data to measure effectiveness. Okay, so a lot of times teachers will get in there, and I've been in a couple of them that they just talk and talk and talk, but there's no data. They're not bringing data to the table. So they got to bring data to the table. At my school, we used to have weekly data reports to kind of go over this and compare and contrast. So that's kind of a good example that I use. And then also some parties let personal conflicts get in the way of their professionalism. So just because someone doesn't want to, maybe this kind of pertains to some of the older, more seasoned teachers that kind of don't like change. So they get in there and they're used to doing things a certain way. But now that, a lot of learning objectives have changed and the state standards have changed, and these PLCs are starting become more of a influence in our educational system. Some people don't like that. A lot of teachers don't like that. So it's kind of tough dealing with those teachers, especially as a new guy. But it is what it is. It's part of the teaching strategies now, and part of it's not going away. So just kind of wanted to cover both those just to kind of start out with, just to give a little background of my experience with it. So yeah, like I said, I've been kind of personally involved in some ineffective ones. We had some teachers there that just did not want to buy off on what the principal was trying to institute. With these PLCs and us working together. A lot of the teachers were kind of bitter to working together in combination as a team. They were kind of just worried about their test scores. But I tried. What I try to do is kind of work with the teachers and the teacher coaches that actually wanted to better the experience and actually wanted to better the school's output and data and test scores. So I was right there with them trying to learn, and it was for me, it was a good experience overall. All right, moving on. All right, so on the video, the video about miracles, and it pretty much it was motivating video. It reinforced to me like why I wanted to become a teacher, um, what impact I wanted to have with the students and trying to kind of teach the students at where they're at. Some of these students come from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, and some of these students, um, they just don't want to be there. I didn't want to be there when I was in, so I kind of know how they feel. So I just try to get reach them where they're at, try to impact them, and that this this video with this teacher talking about miracles, I believe in that. I believe that we perform miracles every day. We're not just teachers; we're counselors, we're big brothers, we're confidants. So it's a lot more to it than that. So I really I found this. It was funny too. This video was funny, but it was actually the truth. So um, when we talk about textbook readings, it was informative chapter 1, talking about some of the things I've been able to see in action with my own experiences through use of technologies. Um, as being an extrinsic motivator to the children. I came up from a school that was a one-to-one school, so every single student had a laptop, and so what I basically tried to do was I just went total paperless classroom and made them use their laptops and made them use their technology and incorporated that technology into everything that we did and into collaboration, into inquiry, everything that we did. So um, it's kind of thinking outside the box. A lot of the teachers didn't do that, but I try to do that just to kind of set the tone and kind of the future of where we're going. At least in my county, I was teaching. So moving on. Section 2, we're going to talk about PLCs requiring a lot of planning. They do. Um, and when we do plan, group expectations should be clear and may need to be revisited periodically. Um, sometimes they just go to these PLCs and are just all kind of chaotic. People are complaining. People are just talking sidebar conversations. It's not real effective sometimes. But as long as you have a clear agenda and clear expectations, it can be very effective. Um, PLCs can also be an effective tool in identifying at-risk students. Um, that to me was key. Like, I brought a couple kids in that were kind of borderline. Like, I don't know if they should be in this class or are they keeping up, or I would go to their English teacher. What's their reading level like? Can we test this kid? And I would look at prior test scores. So, it's just a good place to kind of examine these students, not just with one set of eyes, but with a couple sets of eyes to kind of look into what possibly are some advantages or disadvantages that this kid is dealing with, and also does he have any kind of EC accommodations. So it was a good tool for me to just kind of see where they're at and kind of come with the game plan to how to meet them where they're at. So um, like I said, my personal experiences with these PLCs have not been 100% positive, just because probably, um, some of the teachers in there just didn't want to be there. They just didn't want to smell what the principal was cooking. But that's fine. I know that's going to be like that in every career. So you just kind of got to go with the flow a little bit. But overall, I thought it was cool because it kept me in check. It kept me planning better. Talking to other teachers, getting ideas from them, and sharing ideas with them. So to me, it was good stuff. Um, Collaboration is key. If just my experiences are good from a certain perspective, but I like to get different perspectives as well. So to me, the planning between staff members and the planning between fellow teachers was key and was vital, and it made all overall results, data better. It made the students' experience better. Overall, to me, it's the way to go. All right, some continuation, section two, kind of a new way to think about technology. As I said before, the extrinsic motivators, the kids love technology. We got to meet them where they're at. That's all they do. They're always on their phone, just like you and me. Always on their phone, always on their computer. So they're plugged in, So if I can meet them where they're at and I can meet them wherever they're at, I can affect them. So that's how I found it most effective. Like I said, my classroom was 100% paperless, no paper at all. They took their test online. They did their inquiry online, the collaboration online. So to me, I tried to meet them where they're at, and kind of, some of the feedbacks I had from them were positive, and I know, it does take supervision. It does take me walking around the classroom, making sure they're not, playing games and stuff like that. Like I would probably be, but, you know, but overall, it's good. That's the future of education, in my opinion. So we got to start now. Better late than never. Um, so use it. I also try to use it kind of as a reward system as well. They got something called Classroom Dojo, and Classroom Dojo basically, whenever when they're having good behaviors, you're trying to basically send a message out there saying, "Hey, good job," So it's just kind of just another way to kind of get to the kids, like, "Hey, you're doing a good job," through that use of technology. So we also had disciplinary reports too through that use of technology. They can look up to see if they were being bad, and their parents can also look up to see if they were being bad as well. So technology can be used in a good way if properly utilized, of course. All right, continuing. Some perspectives to consider when designing a lesson. Perspectives I always consider is, and then also when I read the book, it looks at the at students ZBD, which is zone of proximal development. Um, it seems like a highly effective way to design instruction. Um, Basically, beginning with the pretest to assess kind of the prior knowledge. That's what I did, and then also use data to determine content levels and presentation methods. So if my classroom's mixed and I got a group of children that are scoring a level 1 on their EOG, and then some of them in the class that are 3s and 4s, I got to kind of differentiate my instruction to them. I don't want some people or some students sitting around bored and some students sitting around like confused. So I got to kind of know who's who, kind of separate them in my mind, and how to kind of differentiate those lesson plans to kind of make sure everyone's gainfully employed. When we do this right, the child will learn quickly, um, and as long as we meet that child where they're at, they're going to grow. Whether their reading levels at a 1, I'll get them to a 2, because at least I know where they're at and I know where I can take them. But that just takes knowledge, and that takes discipline of meeting them where they're at. Some teachers don't do that. Some teachers just want to provide the instructions. You get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. My personal opinion, that's not the way to go. You just got to meet them where they're at. As long as you got progress, as long as you show growth, to me, that's a success. So that's all I got to say about that. Moving on. Something to really just continue on with the ZBT in my classroom. When using the perspective, I can ensure my students reach maximum learning potential by teaching to their level of understanding, like I was just saying. As long as I got growth, I'm good to go. We're also going to use SMART goal concept to set attainable goals while expecting higher levels of achievement for these students. And then also Wicker methods as a form of differentiation when dealing with multiple ZPD, sorry, ranges within a class. And Wicker is up here you'll see AVID. Wicker is an AVID strategy, which basically stands for writing, inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading. And for me, I had it posted on my board like every day. I made sure all of my classes, the students, they incorporated every single piece of this strategy to make sure they not only read it, they had to write it, they had to inquire and research about it, they had to organize their thoughts with each other, collaborate. So to me, that kept me as a teacher in check, basically making sure that they're going to get not only the assigned task done, but they understand the assigned task. And oh, by the way, afterwards, I supervise them. Afterwards, I make sure they get it, and I drill them over it. So just to ensure that I meet them where they're at. And if they're not catching up, then I go to that student and be like, hey, I drill it into them. So that's just my strategy. Could be wrong, but it's what I do. So one of the biggest things though is remembering that my expectations set the tone for their achievement. So if I expect less, that's what I'm going to get. But to me, I brainwash them. I'm like, hey, I expect more. You're going to give me more. That's what I expect. I expect nothing less. You don't give me more, it's not going to be good for you. You're going to be doing some extra tutoring. You're going to be doing some extra tutoring with me during lunch, staying after school, whatever the case may be. So to me, it's all, if you inspect what you expect, then it's all good to go. So, all right, moving on. All right, section 3, direct instruction is big for me. When I was reading in the book on page 28, and the third paragraph on page 28, to me, it's all about direct instruction is all about teaching the basics, incorporating the basics for any method, when we're collaboration, exploring, whatever method we're using, we got to get done with the basics first, and then I can go into the next step of what I'm teaching. So I kind of borrowed that also from the Marine Corps concept, which is crawl, walk, run mentality. So we got to teach them to crawl before we teach them to walk, before we teach them to run. And if they're not up to speed on one level, then we're not going to go on to that next level until we're up to speed. And one method I use for that is, as I'm teaching that direct method, if they're not getting it, I'll have like little student assistants, little student tutors that will help me out, that I'll, kind of predetermined students, some of my smart kids, and they would help me out to kind of tutor their classmates to make sure that they come along, collaborating throughout the whole process. So that's one of the things I use. And also, I talked about the Wicker strategies, and like I said, I use that every single day to make sure these students get it, reinforce the concepts that I'm trying to pass to them. So overall, just kind of a hands-on. Once I teach it, the information is out there, they took the notes, take a hands-on approach to it, and then inquire about it, talk about it, maybe do an assignment or a project on it, and then I just drill them. And then the results have been pretty good so far. So moving on. That's my period of instruction today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Chewy says bye. Say bye, Chewy. Say bye. And then Biggie, he also says goodbye. This is the little cutie right here, Biggie and Chewy. But I spend most of my time with them. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure doing this video for you tonight. I enjoyed it, and